Newbie gains are when you're going to, I call it like a, like the teenager phase or the honeymoon phase, because you know, like when you first like meet someone or when you get married or like when you're a teenager, you kind of like, even when someone else that's further along than you, someone that's older than you, someone who's been married longer than you, tells you about any of these like problems that there's going to be later, you're like, yeah, right, that's not going to happen to me. And so that happens with when you start working out too. So that's why, like, my husband and I always joke, I always say that I'm a last resort trainer. And the reason why I say that is because I get a lot of people that they come to me after they do all the other stuff, because even if I tell you up front, like, okay, soon what you're doing is not going to work anymore, it's really hard to believe when you're in the heart of it, when it's working. So you're like, yeah, right, I don't need to have these phases. I don't need to lift, you know, because maybe you're doing cardio and it works perfectly fine. Or maybe you are, you know, eating a certain way and for now it works fine. Or maybe you're able to work out and eat whatever you want and you're like, I don't need to change the way that I eat. Whatever it is, you need to understand that it will come to an end. There will come a time when you will need to, you're going to have to change up what you're doing. You're going to have to actually start following protocol if you want to achieve a certain result. Obviously, if you're just working out for the fun of it, you know, like you're doing exercises that you like just because they get the endorphins going, they help you be more productive or whatever, then do whatever you want. But for the purpose of this scope, we're talking about the person that wants to build muscle and lose fat. So just because you're doing something, you know, you're going to find a workout or a diet or whatever, or maybe you're not dieting at all and you're going to start working out and everything is going to fall into place. You're going to, you know, and usually this is within the first 6 months to a year, but sometimes it can last as long as 2 years, which is why it is extremely hard to accept the fact that it might end. Yes, and so like for all of us, I think we kind of get, we get nostalgic over maybe certain types of workouts or something. You know, like that first one that we did, we think that that's like the magic bullet. And so we'll always say like, well, this always works. Or you think like, well, if this worked for this amount of time, it's the more I do it, the better it's going to get. And so like for me, that nostalgic workout, and I wrote about this in a blog post, it was called Newbie Gains. For me, it was 30-day shred. I don't know if you guys remember that, Jillian Michaels 30-day shred. Yes, so first you kept trying to tweak it and fix it. And so I did it like the first 30 days and I was like, wow, this is like great. I'm looking good. I'm like getting this physique that I always wanted. So I did it for another 30 days. As time progressed, what happened is like I was reading on all these bodybuilding, you know, there's a lot of like bodybuilder types and stuff in there. And this was before even the bodybuilding.com forum was as huge as it was. And a lot of people, yes, and now I train him. And a lot of people in there, they were talking about like bulking and cutting and going through these phases. And you know, and I was like, they obviously don't know what I know. Like they need to do these circuits. And people would talk about that and they'd be like, why are you doing circuits? And I would see them talking to other people because I was like a true like lurker, like I'm just looking at the conversation. And they would talk about all these cycles and people would come in, they would say the same things that I was thinking, like, I just do these circuits and I get ripped, or I just do this and this works. And they would have this one style that they did that like worked like one time whenever ago. And they would say like, yeah, this is the way. And so when the people would suggest these things, they wouldn't pay attention to them. And it took me, like I said, 2 years of just going down that rabbit hole and looking worse. So yes, the key, which that's what I discussed yesterday, was I was saying to switch it up. And what this does is, because when you're in the newbie gains phase, you know, enjoy it. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, do whatever. If you can do whatever and get results, then do whatever and get results. But that doesn't mean that you should not still study things like this. Listen to someone that is telling you from experience, that's telling you from research what is going to happen, so that you can recognize the signs when they happen and know when to flip the switch and understand when it's time to put the